10,000 years ago, beside a quiet river, a woman gave birth to a small baby. The baby's leg was curled, twisted, different. For one long moment, the whole camp fell silent. Every face turned toward the newborn child. Everyone was asking the exact same question. What do we do now that he's here? This moment repeated countless times in history. Each community answered it in its own way. And their answers reveal something deeply human. Not every difference looked the same, though. Some babies were born with twisted limbs. Some grew up never able to see. Others could not hear a single sound. Some had skin and hair pale as snow. Sometimes, two babies arrived instead of one. Some children simply thought in different ways. Ancient people had a word for each. But they shared one thing in common. Every single one was undeniably, unmistakably human. Ancient life was harsh, dangerous, and deeply uncertain. Survival often depended on every member's strength. So something unfamiliar could feel frightening, even threatening. Without science, people searched for other explanations. Maybe angry spirits, maybe a broken taboo. Fear of the unknown is ancient, not evil. It's simply how frightened minds tried to cope. Understanding this fear helps us understand ourselves. And it helps us see what came next. Because fear was never the only response. In some cultures, difference seemed like an omen. A twin birth might be read as warning. Others believed a spirit had entered wrongly. Elders would gather to decide what it meant. Sometimes families were told to isolate the child. Sometimes a whole village changed its plans. These beliefs came from fear, not cruelty alone. People were trying to protect their entire community. It's a hard part of the story to hear. But it's only part of a much bigger story. Because history also holds the opposite truth. Now travel to a cave in northern Iraq. Scientists called it Shanidar and made a discovery. A Neanderthal skeleton buried there 40,000 years ago. His name is lost, so we call him Shanidar I. His right arm had been withered since childhood. One eye socket showed signs of old blindness. His hearing was likely damaged too, researchers found. By any measure, he could not hunt alone. Yet his bones show he lived past 40. In that era, that counted as truly old. Someone had to feed him for many years. Someone chose to keep him alive and cared. This discovery changed how scientists saw our past. A badly disabled man could not have survived alone. Someone had to hunt, cook, and care for him. That takes real effort, over years, not days. It means compassion is older than we thought. Older than farming, older than writing, older than cities. It may be older than our species itself. Caring for the vulnerable seems built into us. Not a modern invention, but an ancient instinct. And Shanidar I is far from the only proof. In Italy, another skeleton tells a similar story. Archaeologists call him Romito II, a young man. He lived about 10,000 years ago in Calabria. Romito II had a severe form of dwarfism. His arms were notably short for his body. Still, he lived to be roughly 17 years old. In his hard world, that was no small thing. He was buried carefully, beside another young woman. His grave held the same care as any other. In death, as in life, he belonged fully. Across the ocean, in what's now called Florida, archaeologists found a pond preserving ancient burials perfectly. Among them, a young boy with spina bifida. His spine had not closed properly before birth. He could not have walked without real help. Yet his bones show years of careful nursing. He lived long enough to become a child. Someone carried him, fed him, kept him warm. He was buried wrapped gently in woven fabric. Archaeologists called it one of the oldest textiles found. His community wrapped him in their very best. These aren't the only signs of ancient care. All over the world, healed fractures tell stories. A broken leg, badly set, but fully healed. That takes weeks of rest, someone else providing. In the wild, An injured hunter can't forage alone. Someone had to bring water, food, and warmth. Some skeletons show healed injuries from early childhood, meaning the person was cared for their entire life. These bones are quiet witnesses, but they don't lie. They tell us no one was left behind. Some senses were lost, but new gifts emerged. Blind elders often became the camp's memory keepers. Without sight, many trained their hearing and memory. They memorized songs, lineages, hunting routes, and stories. Around the fire, everyone gathered to listen closely. A blind storyteller's voice could hold a tribe together. Some are believed to have composed early epic poems. Ancient Greek tradition even remembers a blind poet, Homer. True or legend, the pattern repeats across cultures. Losing sight didn't erase a person's value at all. Often, it revealed a completely different kind of gift. Deafness, too, sparked new forms of communication. Communities developed gesture systems long before written language. A deaf hunter could still track, signal, and guide. Hand signals let hunting parties move in total silence. That silence, ironically, made some hunts more successful. Some researchers believe sign systems predate spoken words. A deaf child simply grew up speaking with hands. Family and friends often learned to sign right along. Communication adapted to the person, not the other way. Difference sparked invention, again and again throughout history. Twins presented ancient communities with a strange puzzle. How could two identical souls arrive at once? In some cultures, this felt deeply unnatural, even dangerous. Certain groups believed one twin brought misfortune along. In parts of ancient West Africa, twins were feared. Some communities, tragically, chose to abandon one child. This was rooted in genuine fear, not simple hatred. High infant mortality made every birth feel precarious already. Two mouths to feed could threaten a family's survival. This is a painful chapter, but not the whole story. Yet travel a little further, and the story flips. Among the Yoruba people, twins were seen as sacred. They believed twins carried one shared, powerful spirit. Losing a twin required a wooden figure, called a beji. The family would feed and dress this small statue. It honored the spirit of the child who died. Twin births were celebrated with music and gifts. Special songs and shrines were dedicated to twins. Twins were thought to bring the family good fortune. The very same event, fear in one place, honor elsewhere. Human beings have never agreed on just one answer. Albinism, too, was met with both fear and wonder. A child born with snow-white hair and pale skin. In some regions, this was feared as a curse. Sadly, in a few places, this fear caused harm. That painful history still affects people even today. But many other cultures saw something entirely different. Some indigenous groups considered these children deeply sacred. Certain communities believed they carried a moon spirit. Others thought they connected the tribe to ancestors. They were given honored places within ceremony and story. The same rare trait, reverence instead of rejection. Archaeologists keep finding more physical proof of this. Skeletons with extra fingers, fused toes, or short limbs. Some of these individuals were buried with valuable ornaments. Beads, tools, and jewelry, just like everyone else. In Egypt, art shows disabled workers among laborers. Paintings depict them working, walking, simply belonging normally. One tomb painting shows a man with a clubfoot. He's shown herding cattle like any other worker. Not hidden, not mocked, just quietly part of life. The evidence keeps pointing toward the same conclusion. Not all differences were visible on the outside. Some individuals simply perceived the world quite differently. Perhaps intensely focused or uniquely sensitive to patterns. Perhaps deeply attuned to animals, weather, or dreams. Modern researchers wonder if some had autism or dyslexia. We can't diagnose the past, but patterns are suggestive. A mind wired differently often notices what others miss. That kind of noticing could save an entire tribe. Predicting migrations, reading weather, remembering complex plant knowledge. A different mind wasn't broken, it was simply another tool. In many ancient cultures, difference opened a special door. Those who were different sometimes became shamans or seers. Siberian traditions often chose sensitive or unusual children specifically. A seizure, a vision, or an illness could mark someone. That mark was read as a spirit's calling, not illness. The community trained these chosen ones patiently for years. They learned to journey between the physical and spirit worlds. Shamans held immense respect and genuine spiritual authority. Being different didn't push them out, it pulled them in. Their difference became the very source of their power. A completely different outcome from fear alone. Others who were different became the tribe's healers. A person unable to hunt had time to study plants. They learned which roots eased pain or fever, which leaves helped wounds close and heal faster. This knowledge took years of careful observation to gather. A limited body sometimes built an unusually sharp mind. Healers were essential, valued, and quietly indispensable to survival. Every camp needed someone who knew the plants well. Their difference gave them time that others didn't have. And that time became a genuine gift to everyone. Others without physical strength became keepers of memory. They memorized the tribe's entire history, generation by generation. Who their ancestors were, and where they had traveled. Which plants were poison, which berries were safe to eat. Before writing existed, memory alone held all this knowledge. Storytellers turned survival lessons into songs and vivid tales. Children learned danger and safety through captivating stories. A storyteller's mind became the whole tribe's shared library. This role often went to those who couldn't hunt. Their different paths still fed and protected everyone equally. Ancient Egypt gives us an especially clear example. A man named Seneb held real, high status there. Seneb had a form of dwarfism, quite visibly short. Yet he served as a priest and court official. He oversaw royal linen and managed important palace affairs. Seneb married a woman of notably high-ranking status. Together they had children, shown proudly in stone carvings. His tomb statue shows him seated with his family. It's one of history's oldest known family portraits. Carved with obvious pride, not pity, thousands of years ago. Seneb's life shows dignity was always genuinely possible. It's important to be honest about the harder truths too. Not every ancient community responded with such open compassion. In some times and places, fear did lead to exclusion. A few societies practiced infanticide in moments of true crisis. This mostly happened during famine, war, or desperate scarcity. These were agonizing decisions, not simple, casual cruelty. Anthropologists see this as a tragic survival response, not hatred. We shouldn't erase this difficult part of human history. Pretending it never happened would dishonor real, hard truths. But it also was never the complete, universal picture. Alongside every hard story, gentler ones existed too. Understanding why helps us judge the past more fairly. Ancient life offered little safety net during real hardship. A single bad season could threaten an entire group's survival. Fear, in that context, was about desperate group survival. Not cruelty for its own sake, but sheer terrified scarcity. Most of the time, though, resources were simply manageable. And in those more ordinary times, something else emerged. Communities usually chose connection over abandonment when they could. Because humans are fundamentally, deeply social creatures. We survive best together, not apart, and people knew it. Remarkably, even during real hardship, compassion often still won. Remember Shanidar won, cared for through many lean years. Remember Windover's boy, nursed despite his community's daily struggles. These weren't wealthy, comfortable societies with resources to spare. They were small groups constantly working just to survive. And still, they chose to carry their vulnerable members. That choice, repeated for thousands of years, tells us something. Compassion isn't a luxury that appears once life gets easy. It's a deep instinct that persists even when things are hard. Scarcity tested people, and often, they still chose kindness. This pattern of care repeats across every single continent. In Australia, Aboriginal groups valued elders with unique perception. In the Americas, disabled elders often held ceremonial, respected roles. In the Arctic, Inuit communities adapted tasks to each person's ability. In the Pacific, unusual births were sometimes seen as blessings. Different climates, different cultures, strikingly similar underlying patterns. Humans everywhere found ways to include, not simply exclude. This wasn't one lucky culture, it was a common thread. A thread running through nearly all of human history. It suggests something fundamental about who we really are. Care for one another may be a defining human trait. Modern science now backs up what these bones suggest. Researchers call this pattern the bioarchaeology of care. It's now a recognized, respected field of serious study. Scientists examine skeletons specifically looking for evidence of survival. Survival that required sustained help from other people. New discoveries keep emerging from digs around the world. Each one adds another data point to the same conclusion. Empathy shows up again and again in the fossil record. It appears far earlier than most people ever assumed. Science and story are finally telling the same tale. This ancient instinct to care shaped human society deeply. Groups that protected their vulnerable members often thrived longer. Shared caregiving strengthened bonds between families and neighbors. It required cooperation, patience, and long-term collective thinking. Some researchers link this directly to our unusual intelligence. Caring for others may have helped grow bigger brains. Community itself may be built upon this exact foundation. Every hospital, every shelter, traces back to this instinct. The impulse is thousands and thousands of years old. We simply built newer structures around the very same instinct. So, what did ancient humans do when someone was different? The honest answer is, it depended, but often, beautifully. Some feared what they didn't understand, and that's human too. But so many more chose curiosity, patience, and real care. They became healers, shamans, storytellers, respected elders, and family. They were buried with the very same honor as anyone. Their bones still speak clearly to us today, if we listen. Being different has never meant being worth less, historically. Across thousands of years, one truth keeps repeating itself. Every community is stronger when it makes room for everyone. That ancient instinct for compassion is still alive in us. Different, and still, always, wonderfully, deeply human.